This video is going to be about something that I'm very passionate about and something that is very dear to my heart, and that is intermittent fasting. I've created quite a few different videos on fasting and intermittent fasting in general, and I've gotten quite a lot of feedback. And one question that I get asked often, ladies and gentlemen, is what are some things that you can show us that you consume during your daily fasting window? And for those who don't know, intermittent fasting is when you fast for a predetermined allotment of time every day. So for me, I like to fast for 16 to 23 hours, preferably 23 hours a day, and I have a 1 hour eating window, but sometimes I will fast for 16 hours and have a 8 hour eating window. It's all based on context, and to be honest, depending on how cold it is and what time of year it is, I will either fast longer or for shorter periods of time. There are periods throughout the year, ladies and gentlemen, where I will eat breakfast, but I would say about 10 months to 11 months out of the year, I am on a pretty strict intermittent fasting protocol, and I do go on regular fasts throughout the year where I will go on 1 to 6 day fasts, juice fasts, water fasts, things like that. But for the most part, ladies and gentlemen, I like the intermittent fasting because it is a lot easier than going on like a 7 day fast where you have to abstain from all caloric intake. It's a lot of fun. I've collected so many things, my wife and I, different teas and things that I'm going to show you in this video. And we've reached a point where, this house is just a health promoting home. Everything in these cabinets is natural. There's herbs everywhere in this home. There's living things everywhere in this home. This house has been turned into a health regeneration station for the most part, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing but healthy oils and healthy foods and herbs and salts and gems and resins. And it's just you really want to, kind of on a side note, you guys, you really want to turn your house into a home that gives you your health back, because these homes with the microwaves and most people don't have an air filter. Most people do not have a water filter. These homes, you guys, if you don't, shield yourself from the EMF and all the pollution coming from your router and whatnot, these homes can actually turn into electromagnetic cocoons where you get fed your garbage water, your bad air. Many people are sleeping on beds that are filled full of fire retardants. All these things can be changed really easily and very cost effectively. So these teas and these products, you guys, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that I consume everything here every day while I'm fasting. But I do, because we have so many things here in this home that are healthy in the form of teas and herbs and supplements. I do have kind of a range of things that I'll consume every week. I don't necessarily consume the same thing every day, although there are periods where I will do that during my fasting window. When I'm fasting, I'll have like hibiscus and some salt water. Or maybe the next day I'll have some peppermint tea or some white tea. This is an awesome company, you guys. This Shen Blossom Premium High Elevation White Tea. Some days I might have some chamomile or some passion flower. There are also times, you guys, where I'll just have nothing but water. It's all based on context. Depending on how I feel, there are certain things that I take for, maybe if I have low energy on a day where I'm fasting, maybe I'll have some of the Spring Dragon Longevity Tea from Dragon Herbs with a couple drops of the Omica butterscotch toffee. And this has 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 anything. This will not take you out of fasting. If you're fasting and you consume calories, you guys, it will take you out of a process known as autophagy. And autophagy, or autophagy as I pronounce it, is the body's self-recycling process that is initiated and kickstarted through fasting. So if you fast for long enough, this mechanism within your biology will activate. And autophagy essentially means self-consumption. And that shouldn't be taken in a bad context. It means to consume aspects of yourself that are non-beneficial. That's what autophagy does, or autophagy. It consumes damaged protein aggregates, and it starts to help repair DNA. There's so many different things that happen. Autophagy goes into your system, or activates within your system, and it starts recycling dead material and unnecessary material and it uses it as a fuel and it eliminates it out of your system. So when we abstain from food, and there is so much evidence showing us that properly administered caloric restriction is very beneficial for human health as long as it's done properly. And when I say caloric restriction, I'm not in any way talking about starvation, ladies and gentlemen. When people find out that I fast for a prolonged period every day, they think that I'm by default I have like an eating disorder. No. I think people who eat 3 solid, cooked, mineral depleted, enzyme devoid food, people who eat these types of meals every day consecutively, again, 3 times a day of cooked, mineral depleted, enzyme devoid foods. Oftentimes people are eating processed foods filled with excessive amounts of processed carbohydrates and sugar throughout the day. That to me is an eating disorder. Eliminating some of the toxicity from your diet, putting in highly beneficial liquids, and making sure that you get your adequate levels of nutrition when you do break your fast and you have your eating window, that to me is very beneficial. My body reacts really well to this, and so does my creativity. But everyone's different, you guys. Some people might be able to benefit from intermittent fasting. Some people might do better on 2 or even 3 meals a day, as long as those meals are nourishing and full of healthy fats and healthy protein and healthy carbohydrates. Although I do my best to restrict excessive carbohydrates, some people thrive on them. You just want to make sure that your macros, ladies and gentlemen, your macronutrients are wholesome, are beneficial, so that your body can actually do something with those nutrients. And I'm going to talk about these constituents briefly. I'm going to show you guys what I consume, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of a preliminary intro into this stuff. And my counters never look like this. I've just laid this stuff out for you guys to show you kind of like an all-in-one shot, even though we have a lot more herbs and stuff here in storage. This is a pretty decent amount, and I'm not recommending that people intermittent fast. I'm just showing you what I do and what works for me. I find that, again, I feel much better when I fast for a prolonged period each day. And to be honest, you guys, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not made out of money. And this actually helps me save a lot of money in the long run because it doesn't cost anything to fast. Sure, it costs money to buy herbs, stuff like this, but I buy them in bulk. My wife buys them in bulk. And if you buy things like, this is Poudiarco bark, if you buy this stuff in bulk, what is this? I think this was a pound. Is it a pound? Yeah, it was about a pound or 2 of Poudiarco bark, which is great for parasite detox and a handful of different things. But this amount of Poudiarco bark will last a very long time. It's an investment that will end up lasting you a long time. And I'll use this during fasts for the next 1.5 to 2 years. Same with this horsetail. Horsetail, also known as shave grass, is really high in silica. The body can use this. The bone system, the skin, you name it. But people say all the time, Brandon, what can I do? What can I buy? What type of things can I put into my system? What type of supplements do I need? What type of this and that? And there are some teas and things like that. And there are supplements that I do really enjoy, such as the magnesium oil over here and the liquid turmeric and a handful of other constituents. But we really need to, instead of trying to look at what we need to put into the system, we need to first look at what we should take out of the system. Because if you're putting a bunch of healthy things into your system on top of a bunch of junk food, you're not really going to get the most bang for your buck out of these efficient or somewhat expensive foods. So it doesn't cost anything to fast, you guys. People complain to me all the time, oh, you recommend we buy these $100 bags of algae and all this stuff. I'm just telling you guys in my videos what works for me, and I do buy 1 to 2 bags of $100 blue-green algae every year. It lasts me about 6 months a bag. For $100, that's actually not that expensive. But at the end of the day, if you're on a budget, if you are kind of low on funds, it doesn't cost anything to fast. You can fast on water. You can get yourself a bag of pink Himalayan salt so that you can add some minerals back to your water, and you can just do that in water. It doesn't cost much to get a pound of hibiscus, you guys. $13 for a pound of hibiscus. That lasts a very long time. This is Croatian hibiscus, and I have some very special Egyptian hibiscus that a subscriber sent to me. One of my friends sent me this, as well as this little bottle of sand. She went to Egypt and brought this back, and she sent me this. This is a bottle of sand from next to the Nile, and this is, I believe, a piece of alabaster from Egypt, and this is what I believe they made the canopic jars out of. Very cool stuff. But aside from that, you guys, we're going to get into these products in just a second. I just wanted to touch upon why do I intermittent fast? I intermittent fast because it boosts my creativity. It makes me feel good. My skin gets much softer and more pliable. It helps me with my financial situation because, again, I'm not made out of money. I also don't really like eating throughout the day constantly. It just makes me feel kind of bogged down, and it makes me feel like a slob. I do not have an eating disorder. I just find that my body does best when I give it exactly what it needs, and sometimes a little more than what it needs. And that's it. I don't have to eat a bunch of food every day to sustain myself. I can sustain myself throughout the day on high quality, mineral rich, phytochemical, abundant foods that, this is just how I like to live my life. And this is, intermittent fasting has proven to be so effective for so many different people. If you go onto YouTube, if you go onto Google, if you look up people, even like Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks about intermittent fasting and some of the benefits. There's a ton of data out there showing that caloric restriction, especially in mice, in studies, leads to profound lifespan prolongation. Especially when, for us as humans, we can really take this to the next level, caloric restriction, with all of these very, very healthy liquids that are high in anti-cancerous constituents. They have anti-tumor properties. They have longevity constituents in them, polyphenols, anti-inflammatory compounds. So we can really take intermittent fasting and caloric restriction to the next level because we have so many different tools at our fingertips as humans in regards to supplements and teas and different, water filters. I have a water filter here. This is just a simple countertop water filter that filters all the water that comes out of this sink. It was cheap. It was $90. I have these in my Amazon store if you're interested in looking those up and buying one directly through me. And a lot of the products that I have here are actually on my Amazon store. But again, you guys, this is not everything that I consume throughout the day, but let's get into it. When I'm intermittent fasting, you guys, I pretty much always have a cup of coffee in the morning. And sometimes I'll put some reishi mushroom and some of the Purity Naturals Brain Boost. I have that supplement in my store. I love that stuff. It's got huperzine A in it. It's got reishi. It's got cordyceps, lion's mane. The mushrooms, and those mushrooms in that product are an extract. They massively boost the cognition and the creative faculties. So normally I will put about a teaspoon of the Purity Naturals Brain Boost in my coffee. But I ran out of that, and lately what I've been doing, you guys, for the past 60 days or so, or 90 days, excuse me, is I've been taking some L-carnitine in the morning. This is an amino acid. So L-carnitine, you guys, I find is very, very calming. It's very, very balancing. Put that on the screen right now if you guys want to pause that and read that. There's a lot of really interesting properties in regards to L-carnitine. Some people use it as a fat burner. I don't take it as a fat burner. I use it as a nootropic. I use it to boost my cognition. Right now I wake up, I have some cold coffee that I've refrigerated, some organic coffee made with filtered water, and I'll have some carnitine. And, I'll do fasting a little bit different. I don't always stick to the definition of fasting where I abstain from all calories. Sometimes I'll have some coffee with some MCT oil. And I know that's not a fast by definition, but it still is a liquid. And even if you consume calories throughout the day, you guys, if you're doing it in liquid form, you'll find that it's really easy to lose weight as long as you're not drinking like milkshakes and stuff like that. If you have a little bit of MCT oil in your coffee in the morning, that can actually boost your energy levels. It can boost the fat burning process. So it's all about context. I have here, you guys, some high elevation white tea from the Shen Blossom Company. This stuff is absolutely magical. I made this morning, and what I do with this, you guys, is I'm gonna let this cool down a little bit more, and then I'll place that in the sun and let the sun heat it up. I like doing the sun tea stuff. I like getting the information of the sun in my liquids. I do believe that it has a profound effect on the structure of the water. So that's one thing that I do. I've got some Spring Dragon Longevity tea. I've got 2 bags in here. I reuse each bag about 3 times, and because this tea is a mixture of gynostemma and lycium and astragalus and ho wang guo, this is a gynostemma based tea, you guys, and this is what it looks like. This is the Spring Dragon Longevity tea from Dragon Herbs. This is one of my favorite teas. Whoops. And what they do is they take pristine gynostemma leaves, Gynostemma pentaphyllum, which is one of the leading kingpins of the traditional Chinese medicine system. It's one of the tonic herbs. They take the dried leaves of Gynostemma that's grown in a pristine part of the world, and they take an extract of Schizandra and Lycium and a handful of different tonic herbs, and they dump that resin, that extracted resin, over the Gynostemma leaves, and then they let it dry. So this is actually an extract. Unlike many teas, this is actually an extract of 5 different herbs on top of Gynostemma. This is very balancing to the liver. This is very balancing to the energetic body. This stimulates the meridians, largely because of its content of tonic herbs. And tonic herbs in the traditional Chinese medicine system, ladies and gentlemen, they're special because they not only nourish the physical body, they nourish the meridians, the spiritual bodies. Because this has Schizandra in it, ladies and gentlemen, it actually stimulates the extraordinary channels, the main meridian channels, and the Dantian channels. This is a very special tea. I highly recommend this. So I'll drink about 2 of these a day, 2 tea bags, and then I'll rebrew it a few times, because you can reuse these tea bags multiple times. So I'll drink hibiscus as well. I make this as a sun tea. You guys, I love this bottle. It's got this little compartment, this stainless steel compartment. I'll place the hibiscus in there, and I'll usually let my hibiscus steep for at least a day. I like it really, really strong. And this isn't done steeping. By the time this is done steeping, it'll be a dark red, like a blood red. I like the tart flavor of this. It has natural amounts of vitamin C in it. You can drink too much hibiscus, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to drink too much of this. I drink about 2 to 3 of these a week, probably. And this is a rather small solution. It may not look like it, but once you take that cartridge out, that metal cartridge, the water level lowers quite significantly. So I'll leave that in the sun. I've got, again, some more Croatian hibiscus here. I keep this on hand. I drink more hibiscus during the summer months when it's hot, but I still do drink it, and I always drink it cold. So we'll go through the main things that I consume regularly. It's teas like white tea. I drink a lot of Spring Dragon Longevity tea. I will drink, plain water. And this is plain water, you guys, filtered water mixed with a half a teaspoon of salt. Now, if you're going to be fasting a lot, you have the potential to be losing electrolytes, and the salt contains electrolytes. You want to keep your sodium and your potassium balance in check, and I find that salt works great for that. There's such a disinformation campaign going on right now about salt. Real salt is beneficial. You need adequate levels of sodium chloride to produce stomach acid, to have proper nerve communication, you name it. So salt is not bad, ladies and gentlemen. Should we not swim in the ocean because salt is bad? Everyone who says that salt is unhealthy needs to realize that when you go in the ocean, you absorb massive amounts of sodium chloride topically through your skin. Sodium chloride is not a bad constituent. It's high in minerals, it's electrical, it's potent. Salt is our friend. It's when you mix salt with the wrong foods and you eat too much of it, especially salt that's had its minerals stripped from it, that's when you run into problems. So this is Celtic sea salt. I also consume the pink Himalayan salt, you guys. So coffee, white tea, hibiscus, spring dragon longevity tea, plain water with minerals added, and things like honeybush, which is very similar to this, which is red rooibos, and black tea. These make up the majority of what I'm consuming throughout the day when I'm fasting. Now, if I get a hunger craving, what I'll do is I'll take the lid off this salt, you guys, lick my finger, put my finger in the salt, and then lick the salt off my finger. That surprisingly does wonders for reducing appetite symptoms. So there are a few different hacks, you guys, that you can use for that, for reducing appetite symptoms. You can also lick your finger and put your finger in some roasted garlic salt. I find that that works as well, although I don't really do that anymore. But I'll also sometimes consume chamomile throughout the day, although and I dropped my camera, but I'll usually consume chamomile when the sun goes down, you guys. This helps me wind down at night. So, but I will consume as well things like padiarco, things like horsetail, also known as shave grass. I'll consume peppermint tea, occasionally passion flower. I've got more hibiscus over here. But rooibos, you guys, rooibos is high in polyphenols, it's high in antioxidants, it tastes delicious. This is a fermented red tea, and this is used heavily in parts of Africa. And this promotes energy production, it's very soothing to the system, and it really calms the mind. And I have here some just regular organic black tea. So it's pretty simple, although there's a ton of products here. There's really not that many. I mean, a lot of people will eat processed foods that have in one serving like 50 different ingredients. This is just multiple different separate ingredients that I use, and these are mostly liquid. So people who say, why do you use all that stuff, bro? This and that. It's really not that much stuff. And again, a lot of people will consume processed foods that have multiple ingredients. Some of these ingredients that people are eating in processed foods, to make them, it requires over 20 different unnatural constituents. So just because this looks like there's a lot of things here, it's actually really wholesome, it's really basic, it's nourishing, it's in its natural form for the most part. Lavender as well, you guys, and rose petals, I'll consume this too. Lavender is very stimulating to the mind. It's also very calming. It has a double directional effect. It can either boost the energy or help you calm down. I love lavender. I've got a pot of coffee back here. I'll drink about a pot of coffee a day. And sometimes I'll make fresh teas, you guys, where I'll literally just take basil, pluck it, chop it up really fine into a powder, and then boil that in hot water for a minute. And that is absolutely invigorating. I've got some rosemary here as well, I'll do the same with, and some cilantro. So that sounds kind of funny, but it works. You can also, if you don't want to, if you have a craving, you guys, and you don't want to eat a solid meal, if you're really having a craving, try just pulling a leaf of basil off a little plant if you have one, and you can get these cheap at the supermarket. These are organic plants. They smell good. They bring some quality energy into your home. Try just plucking a leaf off the plant and eating it. Sometimes, you guys, especially if you do that with a pinch of salt, chances are you'll curb that sensation of hunger, and you'll be able to go at least another hour or two on your fast. So there's a lot of little hacks here, and although this is technically eating, to break your fast with a leaf and some salt, I don't really consider that breaking the fast. And it's a lot better than caving in and having a hamburger or something like that. So I will sweeten my drinks, you guys, when I'm fasting, and when I do, I don't always do this, but with my coffee lately I have been. I'll use the Omica liquid stevia, 0-calorie sweetener. This will not break your fast. In fact, the constituents in stevia actually boost the autophagy processes. It helps induce autophagy. So a lot of these herbs, what's magical about them, you guys, is they help you get more out of your fast. They have certain polyphenols, constituents in them that boost your metabolism. They have very valuable constituents in them that actually help you get more out of your fast, because let's face it, things like turmeric, this actually induces autophagy. It helps promote the self-recycling process within your physiology. So I'll use this, or I was using this. This is the Truly Zero by Keto and Company. liquid stevia sweetener, truly 0 calories, 0 carbs, but I recently ran out of that. But these are relatively inexpensive and they last a long time. You only need a few drops, you guys. And this is the butterscotch toffee, and this is the vanilla. I like both of them. A little bit of almond blossom oolong tea. That stuff is great. I've got some lemon balm here. People ask me all the time, how do I remineralize my water? This is one thing that I'll use other than salt, and this is the Omega Cell Balancer. I'm not sure if the company still sells this, though. This is fulvic acids, bioflavonoids, and trace minerals. I'll show you guys the back. Pause and read that. Cell Balancer is a proprietary natural formulation of concentrated fulvic acid and ancient inland ocean minerals, bonded with seaweed-derived calcium and magnesium with bioflavonoids. 32 drops diluted in water or other beverage dispersed throughout the day may also be used to revitalize drinking water by adding up to 20 drops per gallon of water. Excuse me. So, what else do I have here? A little bit of Madagascar vanilla black tea. I rarely consume this, but I like it. Sometimes, you guys, especially in the winter months, I will regularly, a few times a week in the morning, have some organic elderberry tea. Elderberry is very high in anti-inflammatory constituents, antiviral and antibacterial components, and it's very good for boosting the immunity. I'll take that regularly in capsule form throughout the day in the winter months to stay well. And when I do that, I'm doing things like this: mortar and pestle black elderberry. This is some of the best elderberry you're going to find, ladies and gentlemen, because they've turned the elderberry into an extract, and unfortunately the camera does not do the color justice, but it's such a brilliant color, purple. It's got raw elderberry in it as well as an extract. And for those who watch my videos, you guys know that I prefer extracted herbs 9 times out of 10 because they have basically had all of their most beneficial constituents isolated and multiplied, so to speak. So extraction makes herbs much stronger, and this has the raw natural herb as well as the extract in it. So this is an awesome company, you guys. I have this in my Amazon store. For those of you who are interested in buying this and supporting my channel, you can buy it through my Amazon store and I get a little percentage of the revenue. But let's see if I can get that back in there one-handed. There we go. And you know, just on a side note, you guys, in the winter months when it's cold, I'll also take oregano oil. And this is an awesome company. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. The stuff is absolutely potent. I love this. This is the Rethink Oil Wild Caps Oregano Oil. Let's see. And, you know, just to show you guys what our medicine cabinet looks like here in Virginia. This is just full of supplements. We've got so many different herbs here. Different forms of algaes. We've got some bilberry extract, whole food multivitamins, different forms of turmeric. You guys, fenugreek back there. This is the same company, this Mortar and Pestle Herbs, and this is their turmeric. Unfortunately, I can't get that undone with one hand, but amazing stuff. Great company. I think I have that in my Amazon store as well, ladies and gentlemen. But we've got glucosamine up here, silver sprays. We've got a few different bottles of the Kiva black seed oil. We've got some Sovereign Silver back there, ascorbic acid, 2 of those, homemade tinctures. This is an olive leaf tincture. We've got a skullcap and passion flower tincture. This is an anxiety tincture. And back here is a headache formulation. This is a meadowsweet tincture. And meadowsweet is what I personally use when I get a headache, you guys. I'm excited to try that in tincture form. This has been soaking since December. It's almost ready. Or it actually is ready, but we're letting it go a little bit longer. We've also got a vanilla extract here, you guys. How cool is that? These are soaked in vodka. Skullcap. And no, I don't drink alcohol, but I will take a few drops of a tincture from now every once in a while. Like when I get a headache, which is somewhat rare now, I'll have no problem taking 12 drops of that. But I also, you guys, just on a side note, because I brought up the headache thing, this is a natural painkiller, and this is great for headaches in my opinion. This works for me. It doesn't work as well as the over-the-counter drugs, but it does produce a calming effect. And I take 2 teaspoons of this when I have a headache, and then if I'm at the house, I will take a shower while I drink it. You can also take it in capsuled forms. There's also an herb known as feverfew that is great for headaches too, ladies and gentlemen. But I also have over here some skullcap and a little dog. Mirage, what are you doing? Hi, pup. Got some lemongrass, you guys. This stuff tastes like bubble gum. One of my favorite things to consume. I don't know why I haven't brought that up already, but lemongrass is great during a fast. It literally tastes like bubble gum. I've got some biodynamic heirloom chamomile. And for those who need something, maybe you're getting into fasting, but you find it difficult to go that extra hour or two, try something like this. This is a more natural gum. This is called Simply Gum. There's a handful of different flavors. They're relatively inexpensive. And these are in my Amazon store as well. Check out those ingredients compared to the garbage ingredients in most gums. So if you can chew a piece of gum to get you an extra hour, even though it might have some calories in it, you're going to do so much better. Your system's going to thank you. So that's just a little tip, you guys. There's so many different flavors. Actually, over here, let me show you. I have some maple flavor. How cool is that? And then just a brief little note, you guys, I will from time to time consume some like green coffee extract. I'll put magnesium oil on my skin regardless of whether I'm fasting or not. This is a good company for the omega-3 vegan DHA if you guys are interested. And this is Cell Food. I don't really consume that while I fast, but Cell Food is an absolutely amazing product. Just throwing that one out there. I've got some more gynostemma over here, you guys. You can actually find this in bulk at like 99 Ranch at Asian markets. For $8, you can get 100 bags of gynostemma. Gynostemma pentaphyllum is a 5-leaf herb that has massive amounts of longevity properties. It has gained a lot of popularity in the last 150 years, and surprisingly, in a very short amount of time, it's actually been adopted as one of the main primary tonic herbs in the traditional Chinese medicine system. So this herb has everything that the body needs. I'm not saying that you can just survive on gynostemma tea because there's not enough macronutrients, but in the form of phytonutrients and compounds that are small, like micronutrients is the word I'm looking for, excuse me, that has everything in it. Gynostemma and black seed oil, that combo is incredible, just throwing that out there, especially for anxiety. I'm not saying it's a cure, but I'm saying that, wow, does that work? At least for me. I've got some lemon balm, you guys. And you can pretty much consume any tea you want as long as it's a safe tea. You know, you don't want to be consuming things like senna all day with teas that have a laxative effect. But just to summarize, you guys, the main teas that I consume throughout the day, and I do these in small amounts because I try to drink more water, mineral-rich water throughout the day than I do teas, but I consume things like white tea, a pretty decent amount of, I'll consume about that much of the Spring Dragon Longevity tea a day. Again, this is what it looks like. I'll consume hibiscus a few times a week in that amount. I'll consume coffee indefinitely, black tea as long as it's organic, and rooibos. And then everything else is kind of supplementary. The other things I have here are just options to make the fasting window easier and more enjoyable. And, you know, with this many options, you have more range. It's funner. You have something to do with your hands. Cooking and stuff like that is very engaging. You're using your hands and your creativity, and you can kind of hack that by just getting a lot of options, you guys, and having options, having different supplements to experiment with. Find what works for you. I find that I have much more creativity when I fast. I feel better. It's much easier for me to stay lean and fit. And based on the research that has been done by so many different well-accredited organizations. Caloric restriction, you guys, is directly synonymous with lifespan prolongation. And who wouldn't want to live longer? That pretty much sums it up, you guys. Welcome to my crazy laboratory. Oh, and once a week, you guys, or so, I'll take about 1/4 of a teaspoon of colloidal silver. This is rather expensive, but absolutely life-changing. This is the nano silver from, this is the bioactive silver hydrosol from Sovereign Silver. This is the only colloidal silver that I recommend. They break the size of the silver component down into a very, very small size, which increases the surface area and actually makes it able to get out of your system. Not all silver is made the same. Be careful if you're using colloidal silver, ladies and gentlemen, because you can do some damage if you don't approach things properly. But that summarizes it. Peace be with you all.
Thank you for watching. I hope that my channel and my messages, my passion, you name it, can inspire you today to take better care of your health. There's nothing more important than taking daily steps towards greater health. Health impacts every part of your life, ladies and gentlemen. Physical, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, you name it. It addresses every part of our lives. Health is indeed the divine foundation that we need to have so that we can achieve the life that we want. This is Lord Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, and I hope that the obstacles in your life, if you have them, can clear, and that you can attain your heart's desire. I do indeed hope that we can achieve a greater state of being here in this world. We weren't designed to have to deal with all this insanity here in this world, and I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that if we take greater steps towards our health and we envision a greater world, we can get closer to achieving that. So I just wanted to wrap this one up with a thank you, and until next time, peace be with you all.